Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Newpel here, Knup Sports Show, episode 221. Thanks you so much for joining in with me today. Really appreciate it. Got another great guest today. Cannot wait to dive into what's going on with this guest. It's right up my alley, talking some sports player props, talking some AI, all the stuff that I just love and can't wait to dive in and hear what's going on with this individual. First off, a little housekeeping. It was great to see all of you guys at the SBC North America event. Thank you for popping by, saying hello. Always great to connect with audience and people that we connect with in this industry. So that's always great. Speaking of conferences, though, the Canadian Gaming Summit is coming up June 18th to 20th in Toronto. If you don't have tickets for that yet, Knup Partner VIP will get you a discount. So make sure you use that at checkout. You'll get a little discount there with the Canadian Gaming Summit. I did go last year. I'm not sure if I'm attending personally this year. We may have some representation from the company, but I'm not sure if I'm going yet or not. But if you do, make sure to use the promo code, get a little discount. All right, enough housekeeping. Let's jump into the show today. Today we have an awesome guest. I'm going to bring him on right now. We have Trevis Waters of PlayerProps.ai. Trevis, how you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good, yeah. So I heard you mention this episode, 221. I was like, holy crap, I know you've been doing this for a while. I was like, man, 221, that's pretty high up there. That's pretty impressive as well, because I feel like, just not just in the space, but in general, there's so many people on the podcasting side that's like, I'm gonna do this, and then they get burnt out, maybe some even make it to episode 50 or 100 or whatever. So a little golf clap for you for continuing to getting going all the way to 221.
Thank you. I mean, I could talk a little bit about that for, I could talk about that forever, but it's one of those things that you just got to start. If you're wanting to do something like that, just start. You never know where it's going to lead. I mean, I had zero at one point and I was like, I want to do this podcast, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And I just started and turned into 221 episodes later. I'm talking to awesome people like you. So it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, and I get to meet a lot of cool people like yourself. So anyway, let's dive into you, Trevis. I know you've become one of my good friends in the industry. We're both here in Orlando, Florida, so I always love seeing you at the conferences. So I personally already know a lot about what you got going on, but I can't wait to bring you to the audience, let everybody hear what you got going on. First off, tell us what makes you tick, kind of your background in the industry, what led you up to what you're doing today.
All right, so I'm trying to keep the background part short and sweet because I know you have a certain time frame you want this to be in, and I was like you said, I can talk for hours about all the things related to the space and unrelated. So background is one of my favorite things to kind of go over because it's so diverse. Where there's how did you go from that industry to this industry and stuff like that. But to start as early as possible to kind of paint the picture here. So my background prior to getting into the space was actually acting and entertainment. My degree is in acting. I did a lot of live show entertainment stuff here in Orlando, Florida. Majority of what I did in the live entertainment space was I hosted Double Dare Live for Nickelodeon here in Orlando for about 7 years. And what happened into how I transitioned into this space, or just transitioned out of that, is I mean, entertaining people is definitely one of my top passions. It was one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. But the problem was I was 6 years into this job, and I had a degree, but I was still only making $15 an hour. I was like, these things don't add up. I love this job to death, but I went to school to have a potentially a nicer gig, I guess, financially. And, I talked to them. I'm like, hey, I got to get paid more here. I'm a educated college graduate, and I put 6 years of my life into this. Why am I only making $15 an hour? And they wouldn't budge. And so I go, listen, I'm now transitioning into, money's more important than having a great job that I love, that's paying me essentially pennies to what I should be getting. So I started, what I first did in the fantasy sports and sports betting spaces. While I was doing that job, I had a friend of mine who I worked with. We're sitting on we have this break room in between shows. We're sitting on the couch, and she was reading this book that is How to Write an Ebook. And it was it was an actual hard copy book that she was reading on how to write an ebook. And I just kept picking her brain about tell me all the things you know without me reading it, because I know you're reading on your end. And one of the things was, when you're writing an ebook, the most popular things that are searched on whether it's Kindle or whatever platform it is people looking for how-to things, people want to better themselves, and that's the most popular form of ebook. And so I go, okay, if I'm going to teach anybody anything, what's the thing that I have the biggest edge on compared to the next best person? And so I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I crush a lot of fantasy sports leagues. That's kind of a big thing for me. So let me see if I can put, my knowledge and my skill set and things I've learned along the last, X amount of years in fantasy sports, put that into a book. So in 2011, I published the first book was Fantasy Football for Beginners. Then I did Fantasy Baseball for Beginners. And then around that time, these FanDuels and DraftKings and other DFS companies started coming out of the woodwork and getting incredibly popular, or starting to get popular. And so the third book was how to make money playing fantasy sports. So how to play, and then it's like, hey, here's how to monetize those skill sets I just taught you. I had a mini brand that I kind of spiraled from that called Mr. Fantasy Guru. And that was simply just a pay per minute chat service, essentially, where people would pay me per minute, it's like maybe 90 cents, which does add up over time, to ask me, who should I start this week, or what should I do with this? And so it was both kind of season long and DFS wise. I came across somebody on social media who had a similar, not a live chat service, but a similar DFS content related company. And he was further along than I was. And so I thought to myself, after we connected, I go, instead of me doing my own thing by myself, he's a little bit further along, and I feel like I can jump on that train and help him grow that exponentially. And so I kind of put my solo thing aside, went on board, and that company was DFS Karma. And that was essentially a team of people that did daily content, but also had, here's what we're playing on DraftKings or on FanDuel. And he was Anthony, who was the CEO and original founder of that. He was really good at analyzing data, and like this guy's won like 6-figure contests like left and right. And so the screenshots drew a lot of people in. We grew that. In 2020, we actually created I created a sister brand to that called Bet Karma, which was kind of an AI infused betting tool kind of thing, predictions tool. And we had those two, to fast forward the story, that brand company was actually acquired earlier this year. And while I was going through all these conversations with all these different people who were interested in buying the company, I wasn't sure if somebody would want to have me on board or not have me on board after acquisition. And I'm like, I have too much skin in this game. I have too much network. I have too many ideas that I don't want to just, have them acquired and they may not do anything else in the space. And so at the beginning of last year, beginning of 2023, I already had kind of these ideas that I started putting into place in my brain. And I mention this often when I explain PlayerProps.ai and how this came to getting created or starting to get created last year. And this probably is very cheesy, but I really like this analogy because it helps me make more sense. But for those MCU fans out there, PlayerProps.ai is essentially my Infinity Gauntlet. For the last 7 years in the space, what I've been doing is I've been collecting Infinity Stones, and they're different skill sets or different knowledge or networking or ideas. And so like one would be, prior to me getting thrown into the fire with DFS Karma, essentially, meaning when I say that, I wore every single hat for this company. And so I learned things that I had zero skill sets in, like how to talk to developers on taking the picture that I'm painting inside my head and communicating with them to this is how it should work. This is what I need it to look like. So that's, essentially the developer side of things is, well, quote unquote, an Infinity Stone. One is the network. I've been going to all these conferences for the last 5 years, networking with all these people. And I would have never been able to create PlayerProps.ai, 3 years ago in this space, because there are certain parts of what I've done and partnerships I already have with this company that I didn't even know about prior to it. So yeah, just collecting all these stones, and it came to a point where I go, I actually have all of the things I need to be able to create this, and not make me go bankrupt simultaneously, which is a huge plus because nobody wants that to happen. And so so we created it, and I know I tried to say I would keep that short and sweet, but to kind of transition now to what I assume might be the next question is, an overview of PlayerProps.ai, or a quick one of that. It's essentially I'm going after the responsible gaming side of things. There's nobody really out there that's doing a great job, or even trying to do a great job, or maybe even trying at all to do responsible gaming as a B2C non-operator. Because right now, the only people pushing responsible gaming are the governments, the state governments, and the operators themselves, the sportsbooks and whatnot. And then what the affiliates and what everybody else does is, they're their efforts in the responsible gaming is putting, oh, hey, if you're addicted, 1-800-GAMBLER, call this number. And that's like that's literally it. That's all they're doing, which is definitely not helpful. So I think responsible gaming right now, as it is today, is a joke because it's so heavily pushed down the throats of everyone else. Like, you have to do this, you have to make sure you have this text, and it makes them want to believe, or want us to believe, that they actually care about the user, they care about the better. But as it is today, that's not the case. It doesn't feel like that, and it feels cheesy because they want us to pretend that it feels like that. And so there's another level. So right now, responsible gaming, as of today, this is how I view it in a nutshell. There's 3 levels to it. It's, are you old enough? Are you in the right state borders that has the legalization for it? And the third one is, are you addicted by our definition of addiction? So if it doesn't, check all the boxes for them, but you may be addicted from other clinical diagnosis, then hey, if you don't check all the boxes for us, then you're not addicted. If you add a 4th tier to that, it solves all the problems, and it's a win-win for everybody. And that 4th tier is betting literacy. I have proven through my amazing partnerships I've had over the last 6-7 years with Price Picks and Monkey Knife Fight, rest in peace, is that if you increase the user's intelligence even slightly, so if you're taking a scale of 1 to 10 on betting literacy, betting intelligence, 1 being the worst and 10 being, a betting god, so to speak, if you take someone from a 1 to a 2, that increases their confidence so much that when they deposit and they blow their money and they lose everything, they go on the level 1 side. It's like, oh man, I suck at this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So whatever they deposited, that's the lifetime value of the user. But if you increase it slightly, just a little bit, then the user, when they are hopefully practicing bankroll management, not just blowing their entire bankroll every day, when they lose, it's not, oh, I suck at this. It's like, oh, hey, that's just sports betting luck. That's sports outcomes. Let me reevaluate myself. Let me use all these other things that I've learned to kind of, attack it tomorrow or go after this. And everybody wins in this, which is the crazy scenario where the sportsbooks make more money off that user because they're consistently playing, because they have that more confidence. And it's not just, I suck. It's just, hey, that's just how things go. The user makes more money because they're actually having wins spread out through all of the losses they have. And then me being the intermediary, the middleman of, let me increase your intelligence, as much as I can. I'm going to make you go from a 1 to a 10. But if I make you go from a 1 to 2, you're still doing better than you did before you met me. So that's kind of what I'm attacking. And to end my long-winded answer, which again I apologize, is the only way you get someone to, so we're going to be implementing like free courses and stuff into our app, like almost like a Duolingo style, and to teach people certain things, terminology, strategies, beginning stuff, and then intermediate stuff, and then advanced stuff. The only way you get somebody to actually take a free course, because there's millions of free courses out there and people aren't taking them. So you have to figure out why, because they're not incentivized, even though it potentially could make them more money at their job, a higher salary. There's just people that don't want to take courses. They've done, I did high school, I did college, I don't want to do any more education. So I have to make such an incentivized program to get them to take these free betting courses. So what I did is, as of right now, as of what the site is at this second, there's no educational courses built in yet, because I'm focusing on the first part, which is create the sexiest individual player prop research platform that is so great that people have no question and don't even bat their eyes as a $59 a month price tag for full access to all the data and the projections. Once I can prove to myself, to the investors, to the space that, hey, my research platform's crushing it, people have no qualms about paying the $59 a month, then I implement the education side. And then it's, hey, Ryan, I see that you're signed up, you're paying $59 a month, you're having a great time learning and stuff, but just take a second, go to this course real quick, this Betting 101 course, and just go through that and complete that real quick. You go through and you complete that because you are bettering yourself, even if it doesn't help me or my company, because that's my entire kind of mission statement. I'm actually going to comp your next month, so you don't have to pay $59 next month. You're trying to better yourself, perfect. You're part of the program. You understand what's going on here. Don't even worry about the next month. I got you. And then the final part I'm going to mention before I stop talking is we're not just going to be comping every single month every time you complete a course. The next level beyond that is, let's say you complete Betting 102, basic strategies or whatever. Instead of me giving you another comped month, when you first signed up with me, let's say you said you were in the state of Ohio and your favorite sportsbook is FanDuel Sportsbook. We're going to send, daily reports out to all of our partners, all these sportsbooks. And it's going to say, Ryan completed Betting 102. Here's his FanDuel Sportsbook account email or whatever. And then they're going to send a $50 free bet to your account. Because, I mean, let's be honest, they give you $50 free bets because you woke up in the morning. So, of course, they're going to give $50 free bets if it's something that makes them look good on the responsible gaming side. So that's essentially the culmination of the background and then of what a PlayerProps.ai is trying to accomplish. I promise no other answer will be anywhere near that long. I promise.
Phew, you know what? Okay, so you're making my life easy here, Trevis. You're making my life easy. I don't have to ask much. You're just rocking and rolling through the question series. That's first thing. Second thing, don't you even worry. I've already extended this thing out to like 30 minutes or something like that. We'll go a little beyond the normal time frame.
As I'm talking, you're just like texting your next meetings like, sorry, we're going to have to cancel this.
It's not happening. Yeah, we're going to be a little late for this one. No, that's okay. That's one thing I really like about you is you really are thorough with your answers and really can explain what you're up to well. One follow-up question I have, and this is just kind of random, but you're talking about these courses and the courses that you're referring to seem very broad in sports betting, right? I mean, they're sports betting 101 you referred to, stuff like that. Why did you pick player props in particular to feature for the research tool? That's one, when I think about it, that's one segment of like this whole betting world. Why did you really focus on player props as your research tool?
Love that question. So there's a few answers for that. And again, I will make them as short and sweet as possible. So that just to go by point. Let me do like a bullet point here. The first part is I am well connected in the sports betting space and the player prop space, or the pick'em space, or the DFS 2.0, whatever those companies want to call themselves. They change their niche title every single 6 months. But that space, the prize picks, the underdog, the better picks, all of those things. So I'm well connected with all of them. I had partnerships with all of them when I, with Karma on that side. So if I have a research platform that caters to both sides, I essentially have, more eyeballs, so to speak. So if I only do something that's sports betting, then I only have the FanDuel Sportsbooks with the DraftKings Sportsbooks. I don't really have anything on PrizePicks. If I only do things on the Pick'em side, then I don't have the Sportsbooks. And so player props is what essentially syncs those two together. So it's just more broad reach. There's our states as well that have PrizePicks as an option and FanDuel Sportsbook as an option, and so that's even more reason for somebody to sign up because I have tools that and projections and stuff that cater to both. So just more expansion, more reach that way. Another answer would be, so I get the relationship side of it, the reach side of it. I knew that I could create tools that were visually pleasing. So that's another thing as well, like graphs and things for individual players or athletes. Another reason would be that I was going to figure out how I was going to word this. The next part is I saw things that were in the space that I could do better. I saw things that saw clientele that weren't being reached. So this is kind of one of the bigger answers is, there are currently a handful of player prop research tools out there. I'm really good friends with Evan, CEO of Outlier. There's also the first to market guy who was crushing it, Peter, with props.cash. But these guys have been on podcasts as well. If you listen to any of their podcasts, it's always like Evan's mentioned that he targets the intermediate to advanced users, which essentially I've looked at all of the player prop research apps. They all are the same thing. They target the intermediate to advanced users, which essentially is saying we want people who already understand what a money line is, what a spread is. We already want people to understand what the data is that I've built into my app. So I don't have to, handhold. I don't have to babysit. I don't have to teach them anything. I give them the stuff and they know how to use it. And so what I saw in the big picture is if they're targeting the 5 to 10 on the betting intelligence scale, that's only 5% of the entire betting population, if not less than that. Everybody starts at a 1. Very few people can even get to a 2. And then if you get to a 5, you're still doing pretty good. So I'm like, okay, you guys keep tackling the 5%ers. I'm going to go after the 95%. I'm going to go after the bigger market that nobody's helping because nobody wants to do the teaching or the hand-holding. And I know I mentioned the entertainment side is a large portion of my background, but I also have the large portion of that being education, teaching, training, and stuff like that. I mentioned that my first step into the fantasy sports and sports betting space was literally creating educational ebooks for fantasy sports. So it's always part of that background. So it's like I said, this is the infinity gauntlet. So take the education, take the entertainment side, take the fantasy sports, the sports betting, all that stuff. Boom. let's merge it into one. And I mean, today, actually, if this is recording, this is actually the 2-month anniversary of us launching live, the live site we have. And so I mean, we're doing pretty good so far. And my favorite part is just the feedback. Are people actually getting what I'm trying to do? Are they understanding? Are they appreciative of what I'm trying to do for them? And the feedback I've been getting in these 2 or 3 months has been, so it's so awesome. We're like, okay, I'm on the right track because people are getting it. Yesterday, just give an example. So yesterday in our Discord, which we have a pretty good Discord, I have the largest U.S. sports bettor Facebook group. It's got about 150,000 people in it. And so I kind of use that as a sales funnel or a filter, just get into the free Discord and go from there. But anyway, the Discord, in one of our VIP channels, which is premium only members, one of the guys did a no-run first inning parlay. So maybe like 4 or 5 picks. And a lot of people tailed them in this VIP channel. And so it got to a point where the last game was the Astros game that, I don't know, maybe had like a 9:40 p.m. first pitch. And somebody's posting, like, I really hope this hits. And I was like, no. Like, if you get to the final leg of a parlay that pays you at least 10x of your original bet, like, you should be hedging that final leg and guaranteeing the fact that you have profit. And so I spent 30 minutes, even though I created some hedge bot tools where you can type in what you've done and it'll tell you what to do hedge wise. I have a what is hedging video on the YouTube channel. People still kind of need that walkthrough, that hand holding. And so I spent 30 minutes kind of talking to one of our subs about it. And then everybody else was kind of seeing that. And then, of course, Seattle scored 3 runs in the first inning. So anybody that paid attention to this is how to hedge that final leg, they made profit on the day. And then everybody else that said, nah, I'm just going to write it out, they have $0 when they could potentially had at least, 50 to 100, depending on what they bet. And so I don't know. I don't know, the teaching side of it, the making someone smarter thing is such a passion for me. It's so interesting for me to think back on even yesterday I felt so good about, not because they made money because of them being part of the community, but just the teaching side of it, and that I made them smarter. And so the people that didn't listen to me when I was explaining hedging, they're now in the Discord like, man, I'm 100% doing that next time I'm in that scenario. And so, of course, it just betters them, makes them more money, makes them lose less money. And that's the confined version of that answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big proponent of education. Obviously, being a content guy myself, I love the education side of all this. And I think, one thing a lot of people maybe fall into the trap of, especially us that do kind of know what we're doing in the sports betting space, we start to fall into this trap of like, oh, well, everyone kind of knows that. That's obvious answers, but that's not necessarily true. There's so many like new sports bettors. There's so many people that are jumping into the space that don't know what hedging is, that don't know what a parlay means, right? They don't know some of this education stuff. So I really think, I don't know, I think some people think, oh yeah, that education, people know that. People know, they should know that. But I don't think that's always true. So I think getting down to the basics sometimes is needed. And I love what you're doing, and you're going to tie that into the tool itself. And I really do want to dive into the tool here real quick. We've talked a lot about the education side, and huge proponent of that, but let's dive into the actual tool. I'm going to pull up the screen here, PlayerProps. So give me a little tech first of all. So is it a website? Is it an app? How do they subscribe? All the above there. And then let's just dive into the guts of it. Like, what at the core of it is it doing? What's it helping? Comparing across PlayerProps, what's it doing? So let's dive in a little bit. I'm going to pull up the screenshot here and let you talk a little bit about the tool itself.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do when we launched this is I wanted to. A lot of people create a company. They'll create something like a tool feature, and they'll launch an app, and they'll just hope everything goes how they want it to. And so what I wanted to do is I launched. Well, let's not even say launched. We offered an open beta, completely free to everybody, for pretty much the month of March. So we launched officially the monetized version, the paywalled version, on March 28th, which was MLB opening day, which was 2 months ago today, as I mentioned before. But I actually did pretty much March 3rd, I think, to the 28th. Everybody could use it for free because that's kind of the instantaneous user feedback. If you have tens of thousands of people using it for free, then you're going to get all the feedback you need. It's also going to find crashes or bugs quickly because people are like, hey, this isn't working out. And so I started with only the mobile web. So if you went to desktop, even on the launch day, it would essentially be a landing page that says, hey, this is only accessible right now by going to your using your phone or mobile device. And then I think we're about, I want to say 2 weeks into launching the desktop site. So the desktop site, which is, I know you're looking at the landing page right now for desktop. So we have that because there's a lot of people that like having a lot of tabs open. So they'll have their FanDuel Sportsbook over here. They'll have the PlayerProps.ai over there. So we launched that, and then knock on the fake wood of my desk by the end of this week. So right now we're at Tuesday. So by the end of this week, we should have the app available on iOS and the Google Play Store. Essentially, of course, pretty much being the mobile web version, just a downloadable app. And so that's kind of how we're working through things. So by the time we get to the app, which I feel like a lot of people make the mistake on it by going straight to app first, is I already have tens of thousands of users that already have experienced the site, and they already like the site. Because if they don't like the site, then we have all this feedback stuff to kind of fix issues or bugs. But we've spent the last 2-3 months kind of working through any unforeseen issues. So now when we drop the app, I'm expecting a pretty good more or less review funnel, because I have so many eyeballs already that it's going to kind of start that on a great foot. So that's kind of my thought process behind how I did mobile web into desktop into the app side of things. I feel like that's gonna be a good start to kind of get it shot up in the SEO of the app stores, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm such a desktop sucker. I mean, I know everybody's moving to mobile, but I'm that guy that you described earlier, that I got 300 tabs up, and I'm like, oh, I got this, I got screens, I got things everywhere that's helping me. So I still operate in that manner. I don't know if I'll ever move to mobile only, but definitely operate in that manner.
I was going to say, if you want to, because I know right now you're looking at the landing page. I don't know if have you created an account yet by any chance?
Maybe, or not recently. So if I do, I'll have to get my password and all of that.
Well, if you want to switch me to presenter real quick, I know we're in the middle of actually recording this. I can actually pull up my screen, which has the full premium paywall removed and everything like that.
Yeah, cool. That'd be great. I'll make you presenter, and we can go from there if I can figure out how. That's always the the issue in this. If I can, if I can't, I don't even know if I know how, so I may not be able to right now, which is okay. Why don't you just start talking a little bit about the functionality? Because what I really want to understand is more about the functionality, right? So you're taking games and you're taking players, looking at their lines for all these player props across all these different sites, comparing those, giving your projections as well. And really just educating on where to get the best lines and what might be winners, right? I mean, give me the high level functionality of what's going on while I try to fumble around and get you access to present.
Yeah. So right now, so I say we're pretty much at a 1 or 2% build mark. So what you currently see on the site after you log in is only 1 to 2% of what PlayerProps.ai is going to become. And that's not even, because you also have to implement the educational tools and everything. It's just, there's so many other features and things on the research platform side of things that we're going to be adding, but it's pretty much, so right now, right before SBC started, actually the week of SBC, I officially launched or I guess made it public anyway, the seed round that I'm raising. And so essentially, like, once I bring in the extra funds from the seed round, then, I mean, the features are going to be exponentially expedited, because we're going to have a lot more developers in-house and things of that nature. But right now, before that, it's kind of, okay, we're going to tackle this today, and we're going to tackle this today. So it's kind of a one item at a time kind of thing. But right now, so not even right now. So the grand picture is, I want there to be a past, present, and future research portion. Right now, you're seeing only the past and the future. Past-wise, you're seeing the historical data. You can pull up and you can see different metrics for every single player. So let's just say you're looking at Luka for the game tonight, which I'm hoping that they sweep, and that I want Luka to get as much rest as the Boston Celtics are getting, because they swept. Because I really want the Mavericks to beat the Celtics for a handful of reasons.
Same.
I have a lot of futures parlays, and I have the highest paying one is the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Mavericks to win. And there's 2 other things that need to happen on that ticket, but that is turning essentially $50 into 1.2 million, which will essentially be my seed round.
Wow, that's big news. Wow.
Yeah. So I got a lot of. I started doing this last year, where it futures parlays, and then while the playoffs are going on for particular league, hedging those futures parlays. And so essentially, I can turn a small amount of total invested capital into a large amount if if everything happened. But as of right now, with all of the hedging, I'm guaranteeing myself that I have one ticket that will have that will have the NBA and NHL winner. It's inevitable. I'm just hoping it's the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Mavericks. That's the highest payout.
Side note, congrats. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, there's still a few things that have to happen after that, but that's like the crux of getting it started. So anyway, past and present. So if you're wanting to look at Luka for tonight, we have, a very, very easy to digest data for him, where when you click on his player card, it'll show you that graph. And I know a lot of people have, a lot of apps out there now have these player prop graphs, but not to mention any names, but 90% of them are just horrible visually in terms of UX UI. And that's something else I mentioned of how I came up with the idea is I go, there's a lot of things in the space that don't exist. There's a lot of sports bettors in the space that aren't being targeted, but also there's a lot of things in the space that do exist that I know from the skill sets that I've acquired over the last 7 years that I can make better. And so in terms of the UX UI of the bar graph, there's nobody that compares to what I've been able to do with my designers. So I'm very excited and very happy about just visually how it works and how it looks. But essentially you can look and you can filter things by who's got the best out of everybody for NBA tonight, who's got the best hit rate on the over of their current line on FanDuel Sportsbook, so to speak. You can sort it by last 5, last 10. You can sort it by last for the whole season or only versus that specific opponent. You can play around things like that. What's really popular right now for Prize Picks has Taco Tuesdays and FanDuel and DraftKings, they have the alt lines, which are all the same thing. Is people getting if somebody's line is 25.5, they make it 20 or more points, so they feel like it's a better chance to hit because you're shaving off 5 points for a slightly worse payout. And so on the bottom of the player card pages, we have the data. The bar graphs are, let's say Luka's line, I didn't look at it today, but let's just say it's 25.5. If you're on a site and you're like, I think I want to do 20, let me see his hit rate on 20. You can just use what we call the alt line toggle, and you can just click it a few times and make it go down to 20.5. And that changes the entire display of hit rates based on what line you actually want to attack.
Cool.
So we have that as well. And then this is the last part I was going to mention about a previous question you asked, but I just remembered the answer to it is why player props. So how the US is different than the UK, which has been much more established in betting for a very long time, is we've only had access that we have today for sports betting since 2018.
Right.
And so what did we do for the decades, or even the, I don't want to say century, but the decades before that, is we did fantasy sports. What is fantasy sports? Fantasy sports is researching and figuring out individual player performance. And so us as a country, as a nation, have been ingrained by researching individual player performance. And that's why now that we're 6 years into this new sports betting industry, this regulated sports betting industry, that never went away. So we still have that individual player research side of it. So that's why, even though FanDuel Sportsbook and DraftKings and whatever, they have money lines, they have spreads, they have team totals, there's still so high of a portion of their bets being player props, because that's what we've been ingrained to do because of fantasy sports being available to us. And so that's another reason why I wanted to target this space, is because I don't think it is right now, but most likely by 2027, my guesstimation is that individual player props on sports books is probably going to be like 90% of what they do, because of the popularity of all of this stuff and what we've been accustomed to.
Sure. Awesome. Well, Trevis, I know you could talk about this forever, and you could give
for
a full
hours.
demo. I would actually, I'd actually love to, have the audience dive in and check this out. So how do they get started? Let's dive in. How do they get started with this? Is it as simple as coming out to PlayerProps.ai, signing up, and going from there? Tell the audience how they can get started with the tool.
So I do a Monday through Friday show, just me by myself using the tool on my YouTube channel, and it's not. I don't like it to come off as like I'm a picks guy. Like, watch the video, see what picks I'm playing. I stress every single episode, this is an educational series. I'm teaching you how my brain works when I use the tool I created, so you can know how your brain should work when you use the tool I created. And so if they just watch like, oh, he's picking these 3, and you lock them in, and you don't ever go to PlayerProps.ai and actually implement that process, then you're essentially shooting yourself in the foot. So to answer your question, I actually mention this on every episode because I know that there's people watching me for the first time every single time I upload a new one. I say you have to, if you are someone who's trying to win more bets than lose more, than the bets you're losing, there's something I do these hashtags that I've branded on the show. This one's hashtag bare minimum. The bare minimum that it costs you $0.00, that you proving to yourself that you actually want to win more than lose, is you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's a ton of educational stuff being dropped every single day. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is just PlayerProps.ai. You get into the community Discord, which is free as well. There's a lot of free channels, and there's a lot of tools I created to help you figure things out without having to do the math yourself, that are free to use. And that's something you can access by going to the website, logging in, and then clicking Discord. And then the website itself is the third step to doing the bare minimum. There's a lot of stuff we offer for free on the website.
Right.
And you just go to PlayerProps.ai and just create a free account. That's how you get to the Discord. And then you can actually find the YouTube through the site itself, or going directly to the YouTube and searching PlayerProps.ai. But yeah, that's what we call the bare minimum. So if you are watching this not as someone in the space, but someone who is struggling with sports betting, and you just want kind of a little extra help there, you do the bare minimum, and it's a guarantee that if you, another branded hashtag apply yourself, if you follow all the guidelines, like the bankroll management we have, all of the other things, it's a guarantee that you're going to be losing less often if you're coming to us, because that's the scenario, or that's the problem you're in right now. Because the biggest problem is people, FanDuel is making these single game parlays of 20 pick legs so popular that everybody's like, oh, I want to turn $10 into $1 million today.
Yeah.
And so my job in the space is rewiring their brains from this chaos these sports books are creating. But yeah, so that's how to get in touch, is just create an account and get into the Discord. And if you want the educational stuff, the YouTube's there for you too as well.
Well, I've been a YouTube junkie for quite some time, but I've kind of taken it to another level of consuming YouTube lately. It's kind of like my all, where I learn everything. So I'll definitely jump onto your Player Props AI. I put that link up here as well. We'll add it to the show notes so nobody has to remember. But yeah, I encourage everybody to go out to YouTube, check out Player Props AI, check out PlayerProps.ai as well to get into the tool. Trevis, connect with Trevis out on LinkedIn as well. He's an amazing individual, as you can tell. Could talk forever about this type of stuff, and I always enjoy when we get to meet up at events and talk through what's going on in the industry and with our businesses and all the above. So I'd encourage everybody listening to this to connect with Trevis, and if you haven't already, you might have already, because Trevis has that wide network.
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere, including the dance floor. We find Trevis at these events. We have a good time, so we'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, appreciate your time, man. And so the last thing I was going to mention real quick is you mentioned PlayerProps.ai, and you put up on the site. So I actually had a different name when I first started doing the development side of things, and .ai became a new extension on like GoDaddy, and the fact that this was available like floored me. I go, 100% this is going to be the name of the company. This is the most SEO friendly URL of all time.
Doesn't it feel good when something like that happens? It's like you're racking your brain, and all of a sudden it's like, that's it. It's done. It's wrapped.
And then we're like, this is it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Trevis. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I really appreciate your time here today. Thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch and talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
All right, talk to you soon. Have a good one. All right, Trevis Waters, PlayerProps.ai. Hopefully you enjoyed that show. I do encourage you to go out, check that out, especially if you do any player props. I mean, it's a tool in your tool belt to just help you win more money when you're playing on Prize Picks, Underdog, things of that nature. Trevis doing some amazing things. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you do have other shows, other people you'd like me to bring on to this show, please let me know. That was episode 221. Like Trevis said, we are just increasing the number of shows, having fun with content, and going from there. All right, that's all I have for you today. We'll talk to you in the next one. Again, if you're going to the Canadian Gaming Summit, use Knup Partner VIP as your promo code. They'll get you a little discount. All right, guys, talk to you soon. Stay safe. Have a great one. Bye-bye.